What's up everybody, SuperX fan here for another weekly update. So as you might be able to tell, I am not in the Mustang. I am in a 2016 Volkswagen Golf R that Volkswagen kindly dropped off to me here for a week to drive. And yeah, it's going to be a fun thing to review. I just filmed the first half of it, and it's a really impressive car. I always kind of had a thing for Golf Rs, especially these new ones. I was never huge on the R32s, but these new Golf Rs, I really like the look of them. And it's a really impressive little thing here, and it's really nice that, you know, this has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and the better infotainment that you don't get really in the WRX and STI. So if I wasn't a huge Subaru fanboy, I would probably, this would be my like second pick, you know, if I couldn't get a Subaru. But it's still just a really impressive thing, and it's going to be fun to drive for a week here. The reason why I'm filming the weekly update in this and not in the Mustang is I'm giving the Mustang a little bit of a break because tomorrow I'm going to actually be doing a little road trip to Maryland. I'm filming this on Wednesday, by the way, and the event is on Thursday. You'll be seeing this on Friday, and I'll still be out of town on Friday, which is why I'm working ahead here. So you may have already seen some of the stuff and follow me on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that I'm doing is a press event where I'm driving a ton of different cars that all the manufacturers bring out, and you go on quick little test drives with the PR people, and it's going to be pretty cool. There's some really sweet stuff that's going to be there, including a lot of cars you guys have been wanting to hear my thoughts on. So like I said, not going to be able to do full reviews of these cars, but at least some quick drive videos to give you guys a lot of my basic impressions on the cars, and should be a really fun time. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and then I'm going to go down visit my buddy that's in the area as well while I'm out there. So but yeah, it's I'm just taking the Mustang on that little trip, so I figured I would you know, drive this here for the weekly update and let the Mustang rest for another day. But yeah, as far as the Mustang goes though, the only new thing with that is that it's past 3,000 miles now, and otherwise, though, I'm still just, you know, I'm excited. As you'll see in the news portion of the weekly update, there's more and more 2018 Mustang spy shots. I'm getting excited for that. Keeping my eye on that closely to see if that's going to be something I'm going to want to, you know, move up to or not. Otherwise, though, I'm starting to get a few appearance mods in my mind that I want to do to the GT if I end up keeping it. So we'll have to just wait and see what Ford has up their sleeve for 2018 here, and see what comes out here at the LA Auto Show in a month and a half, and then go from there. But yeah, so anyway, without further ado, I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is the new 2018 BMW 5 Series leaked out, and it is kind of boring, honestly. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, now these are unofficial, like leaked out pictures. Who knows? Maybe this is some really, really good rendering, or, you know, there's something else going on here. But what we're looking at is, you know, I mean, it's an improvement. You know, it's got, you know, some tweaks there to make the 7 Series look a little smaller here for the new 5 Series, but still looks a lot like a 5 Series usually does. The back end, you have some newer taillights, and the rear bumper is a little more M inspired, I suppose, here for the 540 model that is pictured supposedly. But the real disappointment is the interior. You look at the one interior shot that, you know, is leaked out as well, and honestly, I mean, yes, it's like the 7 Series, but it's hardly any different than the 5 Series, the current 5 Series. It's like such a small, you know, incremental leap forward that it's hardly even worth calling a leap. It's just, you know, I mean, there's new gauges here, a nicer steering wheel, slight little tweaks here and there to the center console, but it's just, I don't think it's enough. Whenever you look at the brand new E-Class, like with its stunning interior that everyone is so impressed by, I don't think anyone's gonna like be looking at that and then look at this and be like, wow, this is much nicer. Like, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I want to see BMW do well, but this is just not very promising. And even stuff like the Volvo S90. Volvo, a tiny little company, has this super cool, extremely high quality, futuristic interior in the new S90, and it's like, you know, why not just go buy one of those instead of this 5 Series? It just does not seem to get anyone excited, and, you know, all the comments on the news stories about it as well, it's just like, wow, yeah, this is kind of underwhelming. So, you know, who knows? Like I said, maybe the official pictures will look better, or in person, or I don't know, but very underwhelming there. And I mean, I know BMW likes being conservative after the whole Bangle era and everyone hating, you know, the radical designs back then. But I think a little more passion and a little more excitement in the design would be welcomed by most. Some more exciting news of this past week is we got a bunch more spy photos here of the 2018 Mustang refresh. Now it's going to be based on the current same generation, but just have some tweaks to the front end and the back end most likely, and some updates to the interior possibly as well. So what we see here are the convertible versions. So a couple weeks ago the hardtop was spied. Now we see the convertible. We also get some slightly better looks at the little tri-bar LED accent lighting there in the headlights, which now comes to a point and is a different style versus the outgoing 2015 to 2017 Mustang headlights, which is a nice little improvement. And from these spy shots, it also looks like the taillights are a little bit smaller maybe for this go around than they were for the 2015 to 2017. So, and then another one that was spied, there was another Mustang Mule spied running around that had some weird hood bulge. Now, this Mustang is a very rough old mule from the 2015 Mustangs when they were being developed, because it's the current body style, no changes are done to it whatsoever. And you also have headlights that aren't finished at all. Everyone was freaking out that the tri-bar LED accents in the front might be gone on base models or something, but I definitely don't think they're going to go backwards. I think what we're looking at here is just a very crude mule that they've slapped together just to test whatever is going on under the hood of this car. And so interesting to see those on the list. I don't know what that hood bulge could be for though, because it's not aerodynamic, it's not it's blocked off on all four sides, so it's not like it's a scoop or even like a hood mounted gauge. If they wanted to do a throwback to the 60s and stuff with the hood mounted gauges, even that wouldn't be plausible here for this. And it's just kind of ugly looking, so who knows why that's there, why they needed that extra clearance. But interesting to see that nonetheless. Other Mustang news though is that they actually announced this past week that they're going to stop production of the Mustang for 1 week at the assembly plant because of the slower sales this past month. So Mustang sales dropped off about 35% and just barely sold less than the Camaro. This is the first time in 2 years the Camaro has sold more than the Mustang, and it was only by like a couple hundred units. And that's also because the Camaros, the 2016s, had very aggressive incentives to get them moved, because they have an enormous backlog of Camaros that are just, I think they said something like 130-day supply of Camaros, and a healthy supply is like 70 days. So they are like nearly double that, and they need to desperately get rid of 2016 Camaros, which is why you can find some online for sale for $12,000 even off of the sticker price, which is pretty wild. So Ford doesn't want to make the same mistake, and they're like, okay, sales are slowing down here. We know, everyone knows that there's now a 2018 model that's going to be refreshed. So that, combined with the election, combined with the winter coming on and stuff like that, has slowed down sales of sports cars. So they're just shutting down the plant for a week because they don't want to overproduce them and have the same problem that Chevy currently has with the Camaro. So it's also kind of strange though, because although all those things make sense, they also build the Lincoln Continental at this plant, and apparently the whole plant is being closed down from what I understand. It might just be the Mustang side, but I think it's the entire plant, which means that the Continental, which is just started being built, I don't know why they would want to pause that. I feel like they should just shift production over to the Continental instead, and get a bunch of those out since they're hot and brand new. And another curious thing though about why even stop Mustang production, because if you look at Europe and the rest of the world, the waiting list for Mustangs is extremely long, and some places in Europe, I think they said it's like a 9-month wait still to get a Mustang. So why not, if you're not selling them in the States as well, stop US production and make all the European ones, because they all are built in the same factory. They're just build all the European ones, get everyone caught up on the wait list there for the rest of the world and whatnot, and then you have happy customers in Europe, and therefore you're not wasting time, because these auto worker unions, they still have to get paid even though they're not working. So it's just a paid week vacation for everybody essentially, and it's kind of strange that they're doing that instead of continuing to build European Mustangs. But so that's why I don't know. Maybe they're doing some retooling at the factory, or there's some other interesting reason that we don't know about. Another Mustang story this past week is that Ford has put out their official tune for the EcoBoost. It's going to be warranty friendly, legal in all 50 states, and it's from the Ford Performance catalog. It used to just be on the V8 Mustangs. You could get a Ford Performance upgrade. Now it's on the EcoBoost as well, and so it gives you 25 more horsepower and it gives you 70 more pound-feet of torque. So it's basically very similar like the Cobb tune, the Stage 1 tune that I had on my EcoBoost Mustang. Very similar kind of numbers: 335 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque at the crank, which is only 10 less than a Mustang GT. And the great thing is this package only costs $700. So, you can get an EcoBoost Mustang for 26 grand, put another $700 on it for $27,000, before other costs. You have a car with as much torque as a GT, which is, still very good. And the fact that you can retain the factory warranty is huge and shows that, Ford believes this motor can handle that additional power. And so great to see that. And it's an option that now a new, more reliable and safer option for those out there that, want to get the improved performance out of the EcoBoost without risking their warranty. And the last Ford story, speaking of plants being shut down, Ford of Australia just produced their last Ford Falcon and have officially closed up building, Ford vehicles in Australia. And so, they were just building the Falcon. We knew that, they've been building cars there apparently for 100 years in Australia for the Australian market. And now they've completely closed up, and this is also, Holden, they're closing up next year with a Commodore. And so the Australian auto industry, as far as, for building vehicles, is just completely coming to a halt, which is really sad, lots of jobs being lost. And so sad to see the Falcon coming to an end there in Australia. Back to some more exciting news though. Lamborghini, now there's a rumor here by Auto Bild, which is a German magazine. There's a report that they compiled saying that Lamborghini is working on an electric supercar that's going to be using a lot of the same parts as the Porsche Mission E concept, which is also going to become a reality as a production car. And this electric supercar program is called Vitola, and it's going to be, what they're going for is, a completely electric car that they said would do something like, I think 2.5 seconds 0 to 60 is what their goal is, and 186 miles per hour for a top speed. And so we don't know much more about it. Just you can go over to Auto Bild if you want to see some of their renderings of what it could look like. But it's going to be pretty impressive, and the fact that it's actually the program is named lends credibility to this story, that it actually is something they're working on. And it fits Lamborghini. I think they've committed to the V12 and the V10, and they said they're going to continue on with those motors. This will just be an additional product for those that are caught up in the electric hype and want to go in that direction. There's no denying the performance is spectacular with these electric supercars that are already on the market already. So cool to see that. Some other electric car news is that Mercedes this past week just showed off this new wireless charging technology that they're going to have for the 2017 Mercedes S550e. And so it's wireless charging. So what it is with this new Mercedes, what you'll be able to do is there will be charging pads built into the concrete of wherever you're parking, and you just roll over the spot and park there, and then it'll automatically wirelessly just charge the car. And it can do it apparently for up to I think 10 inches away or something like that. So as long as you're not lifted up in some high truck or something, it should work. And so pretty cool technology there. And so it'll be arriving next year in the S550e. I don't know where they're going to start building these things, these charging pads, because they have to be built into the actual cement. But curious to see how that actually takes off. Speaking of electric cars, though, Tesla this past week has announced that they are dropping the Model X 60D, which was the most affordable and the cheapest one. So now your only option is to get the 75D, which is a good bit more expensive. It's actually $11,500 more expensive to be exact. So they still have the 60D for the Tesla Model S, but for the X, I guess they just figure if you're going for the X, then you should get larger range, because the X, of course, doesn't get as much range on the same battery pack as the Model S, just because of the aerodynamics and the weight and whatnot. Yeah, interesting to see that though, and it's unfortunate though for those that do want the crossover capability of the X, they now have to spend a good amount more. Other Tesla news, though, is Elon Musk this past week tweeted that Tesla product unveiling on the 17th of this month. He said, in parentheses, unexpected by most, followed by Tesla Solar City on the 28th. So Elon Musk just announced there's going to be some unexpected Tesla announcement this upcoming week here. And so who knows if it's related to the reason why the Model X 60D was discontinued. Maybe there's a cheaper version or some other new variant or something like that. Other rumors rumors are suggesting that now we apparently were told that there was a second part to the Model 3 debut, and so that could be what this is. I feel like if that were the case, there'd be a little more hype and build up, but who knows? We still have a week to go. Maybe they'll start promoting it a lot more soon. But yeah, interesting to see, on the 17th here, what that ends up actually being. And other electric car news. That's just all everyone talks about anymore. That's all that everyone's doing. Germany has recognized this, and they're calling for the German government has called for a ban on combustion engines by 2030. And so, again, this isn't official. It hasn't gone through yet. It hasn't been approved. It's just what they're calling for. We'll have to wait and see. And apparently, they set a lot of the pace for the entire EU. So if Germany calls some kind of ban, then the rest of the European Union may follow as well, which is somewhat concerning, for those of us that love gasoline engines. It could be coming to an end, especially in Europe, even sooner than we're anticipating, because I think, in Sweden and Norway and places like that, they were proposing this kind of ban by like 2035, 2025, but they're kind of on the outskirts. And for someone as large as Germany to be proposing something like this means that things are getting serious here with electric cars, and it may just end up being the wave of the future here and be what everyone ends up going for. So I think the gasoline engines days are numbered with how many governments are trying to slowly phase them out here. So yeah, and the final story this week is another electric car. Imagine that. And that is that Rinspeed has unveiled their Oasis concept, which they'll be bringing to the Consumer Electronics show here in a couple of months. And we just have two pictures of it here, but they have some pretty interesting descriptions about it and whatnot. So it has rear wheel steering, and it's kind of marketed towards city type dwellers who want something that's easy to park and whatnot. But it was basically modeled after just being a rolling living room, although in compact form. It's not large like how you would expect something of this type to be. And the creators at Rinspeed say that they think the vehicle's looks are reminiscent of R2-D2 from Star Wars, although I don't really see the resemblance myself. But yeah, otherwise though, it has reclining, like lazy boy style chairs in a way. It also has a TV, and it has a small garden area, and so they're kind of trying to really make it up like it's this like rolling living room basically. And in addition to that, it also has an augmented reality windshield, which has all kinds of other stuff projected onto it as well. And it also does still have a steering wheel, because although this car is assumed to be autonomous, they want to have a steering wheel in there just in case someone wants to take over or needs to take over. It is still there, which is comforting to have at least. But the interesting thing about this is they said that there's going to be a cargo drawer that's heated and cooled in this thing, so that the idea that they had was that you use the vehicle to commute to and from places, and then once you get home, if you're going to stay in for the rest of the night, you can hand it off to a delivery driver who can then go and use your car to deliver stuff, and you can kind of rent your car out to other people or things or whatever, and then return it, and then you have it the next day or something. I don't know, very interesting. They didn't announce any kind of official range details or anything, because I feel like that is what you should be doing with your electric car at night, is charging it. But maybe if this has a fast recharge time, that won't be an issue. But yeah, so very interesting to see that, and who knows, maybe that is the way of the future with these rolling living rooms. Who knows? But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys, so I'll send it back to me in the car. Alrighty, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here in the Golf R, like I always do. There it goes! This thing flies. It has a little bit of a turbo, actually it has a good amount of turbo lag, but once the turbo kicks in, it pulls hard. It's a really fun little thing here. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.